Hey, how's Mike? I'm going to be using a number of maps here and what in relation to this report of Drummond's. Firstly, here is one of Jackson's maps of the probable camp layout. Okay, so with the video on the battlefield, I'm probably in this area over here, the HQ tents, General's tents, but I was more in the HQ tent, behind the 2nd 24th camp. What's of note here is this little gap, and I think this was access through to those guys. So from the video on the battlefield, Drummond is south of this lot, so he's somewhere over here or somewhere in this region of the camp, and that can be seen by the video where I've got conical to my left front. So your first question is pertaining to Finn's natives. Just one thing to consider here is the Zulu army had its own informers. Let's put that in brackets as spies, which were working for them, and so did the colonials or the imperial. So when you ask about Finn's natives, I think those guys would have been his informers. I don't think it's actual unit, remembering Finn was one of the, I think, a magistrate there in the area, or he was some official in the area around Isandlwana, Rorke's Pomeroy. So yeah, definitely you wouldn't be able to put them down as to being a unit. I'd say, yeah, like I say, probably a bunch of spies or informers. PS, yeah, just excuse all the bird sounds, dogs barking, chickens crowing, hardy-dars making a noise. It probably might just happen, so yeah. I've changed maps now and we go back. This is also one of Jackson's maps indicating the protection of the camp, e.g. vedettes and picket lines. So we go bypast, seems to be referring to Captain Barry's picket, comprised of Bacardi's men. Yeah, 100%. They're up here on Mkwene. That's where Barry is. And it's indicated on the Jackson map as a vedette and a picket area. So as we know, he mentions here, Colonel Durnford's command, Basotho Sikalis and Edendale men arrived with their carts and off-saddled to the right of the native contingent camp 2. Right, so like I've said to you, I was in this area on the video, facing east, right? If you're facing east, he's off-saddled in this area over here, to the right of the NNC camps. Where he's off-saddled exactly, maybe here in front, maybe up here in top. Remembering that as we go further on into this report, the parade ground or assembly area was in the front of these two Natal native camps. So we've definitely established your questions on left-right directions. Outsaddled, up again in a few minutes. Sikali's men going to the ridge on our left. Thereby, your question, left must mean north. Correct. So there we go. So we changed the map again. Let's zoom in here. Durnford's in that area over there, and the ridge to the left is this ridge here. As you can see in the video, he's described a neck, and that's that little neck that I've pointed out between Mkwene, and this little hill over here. So this is where Zikali's gone up with Raw and Roberts and them. Yeah, so we'll carry on, and thereby left must mean north, 100%. Over which they disappeared, and immediately afterwards the Basutos and Edendale men, followed by Sikali's footmen, went towards a small conical hill to our left front. This is the key to this whole report, is conical hill is to his left front, and that's why I picked that area. There's conical, there's the 2nd 24th camp, and there's the HQ. In this, when you're in that area, conical is on your left front, and anything south of that, this way, it's going to be left front. But remembering also what you'll notice in the video is that the further I disappear this way, like moving towards the 1st 24th camp, there's a bit of a spur here, so the ground becomes dead. You're not going to be able to see what's happening in this region over here the further you move into the campsite here. So I'm definitely putting him in the region of the 2nd 24th camp, if not just a little bit in that gap where Durnford is. Yeah, then it carries on. Shortly afterwards we heard firing in the direction taken by Sikali's mounted contingent, and all oxen and horses were brought back from where they were grazing into the camp. As I've said, the oxen were tied to their yokes but not inspanned. As I've said, I presume the grazing areas would have been behind the camp and around here somewhere, or even out here. I don't want to put any grazing cattle out here in the forward side. I don't think it makes sense, because that's the threat side. So yeah, when I say the threat side, that's the side that they were expecting the threats to come from. Then all the soldiers marched down below the camp to the left of the tents of the native contingent. Yeah, left being over here on this flat piece here. This is probably the flattest part of the battlefield, is in this area here. So you've got all the soldiers now assembling in this area, the guns directly below them. This is quite important, I think. I don't think the guns moved again after that. While this was taking place, the firing was continuously heard over the ridge. One thing we've got to also consider here is the sounds and the way they travel in or on that battlefield. It echoes around that valley like crazy. So is this firing that he's hearing coming from Sikali's or Raw or Roberts and them? One can't be 100% guaranteed on that. He could have also been hearing the firing coming from Chelmsford side, just echoing around the valley. I mean, in the camp area, if there's people on top of the mountain, it's almost as if when they're speaking up there, you can hear them crystal clear. Obviously, this is all dependent on which directions the wind is blowing as well. But there's times where I've been down on the saddle or in the area of the 1st 24th camp and the mounted infantry camp, and you can hear guys speaking crystal clear. It's almost like they're standing next to you when they're actually up on top of Isandlwana. Just some food for thought there. So he goes on. While this was taking place, the firing was continuously heard over the ridge. Then we saw Sikali's men appear retreating on the ridge to our direct left, where they were evidently fighting, and a company of 24th at once advanced to the point where the Isandlwana Hill and the ridge to our left meets, 1.5 miles from the camp. He's talking about his direct left, so direct left there is into that neck. Okay, so he's talking about that he's seeing Raw, Roberts, whoever, retreating on the ridge. He again states directly left, which I have an issue with that. If anywhere Raw and Roberts or Raw and the Zakali guys would have been retreating back through this gap here, and maybe around this spur, remembering Dyson, Cavey, Mustaine here, or Cavey's not up yet, at least if F Company, he's talking about seeing F Company now go up here. Is this now to bolster these guys? You'll see in the video I talk about that clear patch on the spur, where the tree line grows along the horizon line, but then it bends down and it comes this way. So this here is the area of that clear green piece. Maybe he's seeing them go up there and then go into a kneeling position to back up these guys. It also fits in with the companies pushing the Zulus back to their main body. The main bodies would have been up here, and you'll see in the video I put the commanders up on this hill over here, where I'm in the video, where I've on the top of the ridge looking down at the Cavey, Mustaine, Dyson positions. I'm over here. So yeah, I'm presuming they've now advanced out and they are now backing up these guys that are retreating from there. You must remember Shepston's also up there somewhere, and Shepston's guys are also mounted. So yeah, Barry's picket, which is the infantry oaks, Shepston plus Raw and Roberts and them coming back. Yeah. Okay, so my notes here and my thoughts here about Zakali being on the left of the 24th. The company of 24th arriving on arriving at the neck came into action and knelt down. Zakali's people still fighting on the ridge to their left from this. It sounds as though Dyson, Mustaine, Cavey is deployed east of the Zakali. Seems to contradict Essex, Stafford and some of the other witnesses to the fight on the ridge. Perhaps the directions are confused and the Zulus beginning to show in their front. Right. Now remember that clear patch that I'm talking about. So he's saying that F Company's gone up here. And this is where they've knelt down. That clear green patch where there's no trees in the video is over here. So like I've said, those Zakali guys are either coming back here or they're coming around Magogo and Mkwene this way, and the Zulus are now coming into view. It doesn't sound as though Mustaine actually got right up and over the ridge. So possibly what's happening now is Cavey and them have taken a bit of pressure. They've been backing up, and Mustaine is sent up. It's not very clear to me, but yeah, like I say, if he's come up that little neck or col in between Mkwene and this hill over here, which is directly left, and he's moved up here, yes, then those Zakali guys could be falling in between onto that company's left. Because remember, it's a razorback. You'll see that in the video. It's a reverse slope that runs this way. In actual fact, this whole ridge line just runs that way backwards. So they obviously never crossed over the ridge line, which keeps them in his view. Okay, so, and this like bolsters it. The fire of the company of the 24th, I'm taking it that this is still F Company that he's talking about, right? Forced the Zulus opposed to them to retire in the utmost disorder, many throwing their shields and assegais away until they reached the main body now showing on the hilltop. This is what bolsters up this withdrawal of Zakali and them coming around this side. and the Zulus following them. That company is pushing them back. This is where he's talking about those hilltops. That he's not talking about Mkwene's hilltop. It's up here. So I'm of the opinion that the Zulus have come this side and possibly that side, and now that company that's in that clear patch on the video is pushing them back this way to the main body. Okay, so we go on with the report. During this period of the fight, the Zulus kept up a heavy fire on our men. We could see many Zulus falling from the fire of the 24th, but no white men that we saw fell. Correct, but now I think when he's talking about the 24th now, he's obviously talking about Porteouses and Wardles coming out next to the guns or ahead of the guns as the standing orders of the day required. The guns wouldn't have been left out there hanging in the middle of nowhere by themselves. So Porteous, Wardle are now in action, possibly Pope as well. Zulus are advancing. They've appeared. They're advancing down these slopes onto the field now. These guys are now forced off of the slope, off of Mkwene. Yeah, he talks about that you were talking about the company that's advanced to the top of the hill. I don't think they would have been right up on top of Mkwene. Remembering, like previously, what I've said about Zulus coming in here and in here. Also knowing that the right horn has advanced along here, and this is some of the reports say that they were retiring and in a northwesterly direction or in a northerly direction. So that right horn's coming up here. It's come over from the Mgubeni Valley. Like I said on the video, this is a watershed line which Mkwene and Magogo form. This side being the Ngwebeni, that side being the Mazinyama. So if you look at this ground here, that right horn would have advanced into here and then would have turned and headed this way, which is northwesterly, right, to get bypassed here. I don't think it was the entire right horn. Like I've said numerous times before, each unit or each, let's call it a unit, the chest would have had its own horns. Getting back to each unit with its own set of horns. So the chest would have had its own left and right horns. The right horn would have had its own left and right horns. And remembering as well, when those sub horns, let's call them sub horns, when they started to deploy, they would have also had their own sets of horns. So yes, entire Zulu army, one chest, left and right horns. Those left and right horns then subdivide down into chest, left and right horns of their own. Those horns would then also split into horns too. So also from my video, you'll see that I've explained that this withdrawal off of the ridge and the guys getting mixed up here onto Porteous Wardle's left. The left wing of the Zulu army appeared driving the Basutis and Edendale Kaffirs before them in great confusion, coming towards a small conical hill on the left front of the camp. The timing, like you say, it's interesting. So also what you'll note on the video from that position that I'm in, and you'll also note that I'm quite elevated in that HQ area. So when I say quite elevated, you're almost looking at about the top level of conical, right? Everything from here, from that view, this side of conical is blind because of this ridge line and this ridge line. So as you can see on the video that I've done on the field, And I've just said, this is all blind. This area is blind. So he's obviously seeing now the Basutos and Edendales come over here. Or he's confused and he might be speaking about the rocket battery disintegrating. Yeah, and this rocket battery is a contentious point between a lot of guys. So probably in this area, yeah, where he's seeing them now getting overrun and pushed back into here. Remembering as well, like I said, that left horn, they're starting to appear here around Ituzi and filter in here, let alone the main chest body of the left horn is pushing Durnford back. So, like I say, he's either seeing the disintegration of the rocket battery and those guys getting out of there in disorder. We know Durnford's withdrawal out of the Kwabe Valley along here was not disorderly. So, yeah. That's also another one, food for thought. At this time, the 24th, and about 200 men of the Natal native contingent in line with were still in their original positions on the left of the native contingent camp. The guns had not opened fire, but as the Zulus came into view, driving the Basutos and Edendale men before them, 2 shells were fired, which, striking over the ridge, made the Zulus momentarily draw back. They again, however, advanced in close order, and a 3rd shell struck right in their centre, driving the rear back, killing many and forcing those in front. 2 more shells were fired, striking in both cases in the centre of the advancing Zulu force and driving those in front forward and those in rear back, evidently both doing execution. The next 2 shells fired were both over the Zulus and struck beyond them. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking what he saw as the Edendales and that in disorder is the rocket battery coming back off of here. Like I said previously, guns, Porteous, Wardle. And those guys are now coming into action as the chest and everything starting to come over the ridge line. So, yeah. At this point, a company of the 24th moved away and joining some of our native outposts on the ridge across the watercourse beyond the camp in the same direction as that taken by the Basutos and Edendale men who were falling back came into action. Yeah, he's definitely, I think this is definitely Pope that he's speaking about. So, remembering the pickets by day are out here. You see these little circles? There and there. So, we know, standing orders, that there would have been a picket out directly in front of the NNC camps, and I think that was Lonsdale. There's a picket out directly in front of the 2nd 24th camp. The little watercourse is this donga that he's talking about, yeah? Right? So, Pope's guys now advance out to help bolster this thing. And this is where I think the NNC now are in between 2 companies of the infantry or the imperial companies. And with the subsequent movements that follow, those oaks are left out hanging in the middle of nowhere. Let's carry on. Yeah, like I've said, yeah. There's 4 companies out here. Those pickets that are over here. We know the Ikoza or Isikoza were out here as well, somewhere, which was on picket duty with Lonsdale and them. And you'll see in the video that I've made, you know, those guys that left, or the Edendale and Basuto guys, they would have ridden out this way, down this rocky ridge, met up with the road, and then out here with Durnford. I don't think they went straight through the camp. They definitely came out this way. And you'll see that in the video, how the way he just describes them bypassing the front of Conical Hill and then out. Okay, you mentioning the timing of this is all weird. I thought Mustaine had pulled back over the ridge. Possibly Mustaine had come back, and now Cavey and Dyson are coming back as well. Remembering how far out Dyson was, he was far out on that ridge. So he's possibly speaking about that confusion. Mustaine's gone up. Cavey and them are starting to come back. Everybody's coming back. This little corner of the firing line to the left of Porteous and the guns. Yeah. It's all thrown out there that we know where Young Husband and everybody was. But if we go to one of Mainwaring's maps, let me just scratch it out here. And we go to Mainwaring's map. Okay, so we go to Mainwaring's map now. And the orange highlighted areas, right? He's evidenced as, I quote, signs of heavy fighting and determined stands having been made here. Okay, so when he speaks about heavy stands and heavy fighting, those are evidence of shells, cartridge cases that are in or were left in that area. Also, on my video, you'll see the kraal that I'm speaking about. The blue circles here is what he's annotated as a kraal, and you can see it. It's right there. There's the kraal. So yeah, there was some serious action happening out there. Also, very, very accurate map that Mainwaring did. There's your little donga, little watercourse, the Impofana, the big donga in your kana. Also, note this position at the upper reaches of this donga. I'm going to take you to Boast's map now. Okay, we're in Boast's map now. Look at this formation over here. That's the mission station. Now, look at the upper reaches of that donga. Yeah. So, big fighting out here and out here. This is near that kraal. Unfortunately, Boast hasn't put kraals in here, but this is out near that kraal, and this is out at the upper reaches of the donga, the Inyokana. Okay, so here's another map of the Kerns. Yes, he does note that they've been significantly reduced in number due to drawings and that, but you'll notice there's nothing out here. There is absolutely nothing out here. These two guys here, what I call the wolf Kerns, they there. So yeah, these guys are there, that guy's there. This lot where this heavy fighting is, probably no casualties. Like I said, they've withdrawn in onto Porteous's left, and this is where all hell goes loose. I'll always come back to Jackson's maps. He's a Bible to me, so you can see his disposition here of the line. There's Cavey, Mustaine, Young Husband and Co, Guns, Porteous, Woodall, Lonsdale in this hook here, and our friend Pope over here, straddling that donga. Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on. We'll go to the next one. You must have all of these. So you can see how that line is starting to evolve now. Lonsdale's withdrawn from his original position there, ahead of Pope, when the threat was coming basically from that side. But then obviously when Durnford appeared over here, this lot pulled back, and Pope links onto Wardle's right. So that leaves Lonsdale and them hanging right on the edge. This is how Jackson's interpreted. And you can see it. Down here he's got Bradstreet, Durnford, Henderson, those guys, all on the right of the road when we're facing east. He's also annotated something here that the NNC advance out with Pope to come and try and block off this section here, but that obviously leaves a hole over there. Yeah, it's interesting, and you'll see I've done quite a long video. It's probably in the region of about 2 hours. It's a whole lot of short clips where I'm basically walking from the camp area along the firing line when it was in that position, and I'm just zigzagging in and out of here, showing how dead the ground is on this side and even on this side. So as these guys now start to extend down here on this rocky ridge, this whole side of the line just goes totally blind. It's just the nature of the ground out there. Okay, so we carry on, and you ask the question about the company of 24th, which was now retiring from the neck, got within 200 yards of the native contingent tent to the left, where they were surrounded and cut off. As I said in my video, there's no evidence of that out there, particularly when it comes to Kearns. Yeah, he's not, as you say, he's not the only oak that mentions this company getting cut off. Also, one thing you'll notice on that video, that from the HQ area where young husband advanced out to meet those guys coming off of the ridge or to cover that retreat, that becomes blind. So he's either talking about this company now, which has come off of, let's go to this one, of Jackson's. He's talking of these guys that have now fallen back in onto Porteous's side. As we can see, the only first clusters of Kearns are over here, like I showed you previously on one of Jackson's maps. Those Kearns are here that he's talking about, and there's only 2 or 3 of them that are actually on if that's the access road to the west of the access road. So could it be Dyson's company that gets cut off? How's he going to see it from that position to start off with? So what he's seeing, from that position near the HQ camp area, and that is everything to the east of this little neck or saddle this way. It has to be a company which has now either taken full blow from the chest, coming in onto their right, or these guys that have actually driven them off of the hill or off of the spur there. It is an interesting thing. Yeah, and 200 yards from the Natal Native Contingent tent on the left is approximately where the entrance gate is now to Isandlwana, or that area around the entrance gate, particularly to the left of it. So also something just to note here, this is another one of Jackson's map. This is out of Hill of the Sphinx. All these bigger maps are out of Hill of the Sphinx. The smaller maps are the ones from his book, The Sources Revisited. So you can see where he's putting Lonsdale and the NNC companies over there. Right? Yeah, it's a different story. Yeah, he's now got the Imperial companies hooking up with each other and the NNC on Pope's right. It could have only been chaos on the day. You know, if we go to the archaeological dig's report, they put the firing line basically in a straight line out here to Conical, straddling the Big Donga, the Inyokana. So, like I've said in my video, let's say Lonsdale and the NNC are out here and Pope is next to them up here. Yeah, Pope's picket area would have been here, but when the Zulus started to show themselves and the main threat was certain to be up here, whether it's in front of Cavey, Mustaine, Dyson, whether it's in front of Raw that's retreating back, you know, there's two main re-entrants into this field from Raw's position, and it's the one down here in between Mkwene and Inyoni Heights as proper, where the Zulu commanders would have been, and then there's this notch area where they could have come down to. Although the vedettes out here would have also been telling these guys what's happening. The archaeological dig definitely puts the firing line straight. And like I said in the video, if Pope now retires from that position out here to there, these guys are left hanging in the middle of nowhere. Would they have retired together? Probably, yes. Like I said, now you can see the differences between Jackson's map. So he has these guys over here. Maybe with this retiring of Pope from this side or being on the straight. Remember, the Natal police and Carbineers are also out here somewhere. The mounted guys. They're in this area too. We know that the Natal, the mounted police and the mounted Imperial units did come back and fall onto the left of the road and left of Durnford. When these guys were falling back with Durnford's retreat, possible that Pope fell in this side and these guys extended down to join up with their colonial buddies. Yeah, this whole piece of the line, if you remove Pope and put Pope that side, now becomes colonial. Other than Shepston and them up there, but you can see it's following the standing orders of the day as well. When you come back to his other map in the Sources Re-Examined, standing orders of the day had the mounted colonials on either side of the Imperial units, and then the guns being in the middle. That's what the standing orders dictated. So these NNC guys, they probably would have fallen back quite quickly. He's putting Pope moving around here like you won't believe. But yes, we do know that Pope came off of the line, went back into the tent area, rounded up all the stragglers and what, and pulled them back out again. And that's possibly how Pope ends up on the right of some of the colonial units or the NNC. Yeah, so like I've just said it, and that's one of your next questions in the report, where Pope seems to indicate that he had first pulled from the right flank back to the Rocky Ridge and subsequently redeployed towards Durnford in Yokana-Donga. Yeah, he's retired back, remembering saying that line was straight in accordance with the archaeological digs report. Pope's fallen back into this position. Possibly, I'd love to put him on above Lonsdale, and these guys were pushed further down. This is Jackson's map, so like I said, it's the Bible. Although in sources re-examined, he's swapped them around. Yes, back to the Rocky Ridge. Pope buggers off by himself, gets a couple of minutes to scribble some things down in his diary, and redeploys back down here. So that's what's putting him now in this position, in amongst these guys. So at this moment, the guns passed along the front of the camp towards the road at a gallop, and we never saw them again. Sekali's mounted men had already passed, going in the same direction. So yeah, he I think what he's doing is he's putting Sekali all over the place. And if it is Raw with Sekali in him, and Raws come down this section, right, he's going to bypass everybody here. If he's come down this section, he's not bypassing many. But like he said, Sekali passed him first, and then the guns passed him. So I'm thinking this is where the retreat happened. And I'd hate to put the blame on the NNC being there as the weak link. Zulu tactical movements on the day were 300 times more superior than the deployment of this defensive line. My video of showing the dead ground on Isandlwana, which I will shortly edit and put up on YouTube, just shows what masters the Zulus were of that terrain. You must remember one thing as well. These English guys are playing in Sihayo's back garden. Sihayo, Melankalo Zulu, they knew this place like the back of their hands. So, yeah, and we know that Zulu deployments and movements were always, prior to the battle, were movements to trick the enemy into deploying incorrectly, and then they would spring the trap. So yeah, we'll carry on. Yeah, what's interesting, the Natal native contingent, followed by the Natal native contingent. I think he's talking about these guys in this corner. Yeah, and Sekali's horse could have been Shepston as well. This last paragraph is so interesting, bro. Shepston has time to get around to this side of the battlefield. This is not a withdrawal. When you go and walk on that terrain, Shepston had got you and you had faced the right horn. Full blown. And why I say that is it's purely because of how the Kerns are positioned there. It's in a little C shape like this, on this little plateau here, and Shepston's behind them. There's no Kerns that actually show a withdrawal line up here and around here. There's a withdrawal line of Kerns to Young Husband's spot, and then there is probably I think there's 2 Kerns between the saddle and Shepston on that same plateau line, which could have been a withdrawal from these guys that got round. Shepston knew exactly what that right horn was going to do. He would not have hung around here. He would have come off of that ridge, helped these guys out, let Young Husband link with either Cavey or Mustaine's left, and then he would have buggered off and got round here and made a definite attempt at halting or at least slowing that right horn. These guys, on this side of the line, they knew exactly what was happening here at the back. If you go and stand here where young husband is, this whole valley is clear. Very, very clear. And remember what I said about that right horn in the early reports heading northwest? Well, look where Jackson has them coming out. And this is also one thing that walking this terrain and that, there's no ways that the right horn would have run all the way around here down the Mazanyama. They cut over here next to where Dyson's position was. Dyson was on this little copy here, and then that defensive line with Mustaine and Cavey stretching out across here. Yeah, I've also got them coming down here, coming down into this little valley here ahead of the Mazanyama. Yeah, bro, I hope it helps. And then then the Zulus closed in hand to hand and we ran away. So yeah, like I said, that this Drummond dude's over here somewhere in the middle of the camp, and all hell's gone pear-shaped, and he just gets out of there as well. The soldiers who were killed in the neck where the wagon road crosses probably belonged to the company which had come down to the assistance of the right. We've now going to presumptions, and the only way we can go with that is that he's been back to the field afterwards, and because there's plenty of Kerns in that saddle, as you've seen from pictures. This whole area is just littered. This was a stand, and that stand that took place in here was the remnants of these guys getting back there. There's very few Kerns out here, other than what I call the Pope's Kerns. There was a bit of a stand. Then there's, if we tally up the Kerns in Sector A, which is the National Monuments Council map, they've divided the field into sectors. So the sectors are based on the access road which runs in onto the old wagon track. So that's a T. The piece east of the access road, this and between the wagon road and Conical, or the Inyokana Donga, Inyokana, there is probably in the region of, let me hit my sources here, my notes. Uh, 28 Kerns. So 28 times 4 as an average. Yeah, shit, there goes my maths, bro. 28 by 4. Yeah, so that's in the region of about 100 bodies, 104, thereabout. Remembering, I'm working that off of Boast's report, which he says the standard size Kerns contain 2 to 4 bodies, larger Kerns up to 6. So, yeah, I work it on an average of 4. That's not a lot of dudes out there in that Sector A. When you come to Sector B, which is west of the access road and north of the wagon track, there is a crap load of graves, bro. There's like nearly 80 in there. So, yeah. Like Mike, carry on reading, yeah. Yeah. You go on to say Forbes and Bassage seem pretty confident Pope never came back to the camp. Was it not Goodwin, Austin and Pope identified on the neck or on the eastern slopes of the neck? which is near Durnford. Yeah, and I think it was Frank recently just sent me a newspaper clipping relating to the colonial cemetery, and that a grave in there actually belonged to Pope. So yeah, I think Pope got back there. There's too many other writings that say Pope was ID'd with Goodwin Austin on the saddle. We never saw any red soldiers in flight, and we did see them kill numbers of the enemy with the bayonet. They kept up a rapid fire, mostly lying down until the Zulus were within 2 or 3 yards, and then charged with the bayonet. Yeah, excellent stuff. I hope my insights, or what I presume to what happened out there, fills in with things, and the understanding of the terrain, my understanding of the terrain, is what makes me think down the lines that I think. It's like I said to Ian and the guys, all the guys, my main concern is the graves, the cairns that are left there, and we need to keep them in good stead. So my forte is anything to do with the burials. You know, if the previous day with all the recce stuff, it's just too hectic. You know, just concentrating on the burials and the reports thereof and the accounts that pertain to those is hectic enough. So I've said to a lot of the guys that when I read a report, I try to visualize the terrain they're describing. So my main focus in any of the reports is if there's a distance mentioned, a feature mentioned, like e.g. the wagon road was close under the crag of Isandlwana. I forget who wrote that. They were within 50 yards of the crag. Yes, that I can put down rock solid. I can see it. This guy, I can see what he's talking about. Conical Hill to our left front. This neck directly left. This report puts Drummond in the camp, and it doesn't seem like he left the camp. He was always in the camp when he wrote this report. Yeah, so that's it, bro. I hope it's cleared up a couple of things for you. Just to show you that I wasn't bullshitting you about writing reports. There's your report. Highlighted sections is what I focus on when it comes to the directions and things, and just little things like, and we ran away. There's all my handwritten notes that go back to this report, and thanks for sharing it with me, bro. Yeah, I should actually just sit down and type them out as well sometime and put them up, but I really find it easier chatting than typing. I didn't do typing at school, I did maths at school. So yeah, okay, Mike, enjoy, man. Later.